internet systems. Okay, our topic for today is about internet system design. So, of course, we are all familiar with web design. No? So, web design refers to the design of websites that are displayed on the internet. So, it usually refers to the user experience aspect of website development rather than software development, because web design used to be focused on designing website for desktop browsers. However, since the mid-2010s, now design for mobile and tablet browser has become ever increasingly important. Again, a web designer works on the appearance, layout, and some cases content of a website. So appearance, for instance, relates to the colors, font, and images used. So layout, no, it refers on how information is structured and categorized. No, so a good website design or a web design is easy to use, aesthetically pleasing, and suit the user group and brand of the website. So many web pages are designed with a focus on simplicity so that no extraneous information and functionality that might distract or confuse users appears. Now, as the keystone of a web designer, output is a site that wins the foster the trust of the target audience, so removing as many potential points of user frustration as possible as critical. Okay, so of course, again, that the internet design is usually refers to the user experience aspect of website development rather than software development. So to give us more details about the topic, let us all welcome Sir Christopher. Go ahead, sir.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, Doc, and my fellow classmates. Today I will be discussing the Chapter 7, the Internet Systems Design, as part of the chapter's subject book by Kevin Ladon. I use it as a reference titled Advanced Systems and Design with Java, UML, and MDA. Yeah. Okay. Many of software systems today across the internet are allowing users to access the system from any internet-connected computers with its browser anywhere in the world. So I think all of us use this already. So this chapter describes the structures and components of internet systems and the technologies and languages involved in internet systems design, including HTML, XHTML, JavaScript, JavaScript pages, which is JSP, the servlets, Macromedia Flash, the MDA based design processes for such systems, and also the UML and OCL for PIMs and PSMs of internet system. And also these chapters describe a set of technologies for systematically constructing an online versions of a system, from PIM and processes model for applying these techniques. Okay, to start with, let me define the internet and the World Wide Web. So some of us may confuse differentiating these two. Let's go first for the internet. So the internet is a hardware. It is also a network of computers, cables, wire, fiber optic cables, wireless networks, and the internet is governed by an internet protocol. So ito yung infrastructures and mediums which transmits as a gateway for transferring status and information. And the World Wide Web refers to it's a software. It could be a files, folders, and documents stored in various computers. World Wide Web is governed by HTTP protocol, which is the hypertext transfer protocol running either port 80 or port 8080 for unsecured data communication, and port 443 and 8443, no, for the secured data transfer. Yeah, okay. Let's go to the fundamentals of internet systems designs. So we have three forms of internet systems development integration. Number one is the development of software which receives information from the user, so the client, in the internet interactions, to which the one who is process the information of initiative. Number two is development of the visual appearances and behavior of the web pages interfacing the clients. And number three, deciding on the information content of a web page. Here shows the figure 7.1, typical structures of an internet application. So as you can see, there is a client, there's an application, there's a database, specifically the SQL. So from the client's request to using the internet, so there's an HTTP protocols involved, the get and the post request, then the HTTP response back. Of course, the data to the application servers, which has a servlet, no, which is managed, no, the applications that provides information. So ito yung mga nakikita natin sa web pages, no. World Wide Web is also web pages. So lahat ng information dyan is being provided by web. And at the back end, so we have the database, no, which this one stores all of the information pertaining to the online applications being accessed or request by the client. So for development of software, no, this occurs usually on the server side of the interactions, no, where the database and other critical resources of the systems reside, and returns information to the client. So for every online information, there's some handshake, HTTP request, HTTP returns. Like when we are searching, no, especially Google, when we are Googling, once we initiate the search query, so we World Wide Web, the web page returns criteria, all of the possible search results pertaining to our query. And for number two, no, in example, by using animation software, no, such as Macromedia, Flash, which provide content animations, no. So yung mga nakikita nating mga animations, contents, interactive contents sa web page. So yeah, which has a design, image, and content. And the point number three, of course, in designing web pages, no, internet systems, no, I mean, have to be clear and be specific on the choice of the contents that we want in there. What informations that we need to emphasize, like information, the organizations that you want to show, no, and buy in, target viewers, customers, and etc. Well, different systems requires different combinations of the aspect. Develop na, like for example, no, if we are developing a university website, for example, no, this will most likely work on the second and third aspects. For example, focusing on information and informing readers. No, the second, like details of the university, like for example, Pamantasan ng Luzon. No? So if you are looking at the web page, no, Pamantasan of Muntinlupa, it is visually appealing and interesting. No? So andun lahat yung mga information pertaining to course, faculty itself, the staffs, and others, no, like activities, the board of directors, members, and this is comparing, no, whereas like in online banking system, so the online banking system is most probably will focus on the support account and banking operations, no? Such as fund transfers and electronic payments, etc. The three aspects are nevertheless interrelated. So 1 to 3. Okay, when a user points to the browser at a web address, now, for example, like www.google.com.ph, yeah, the content of initial page is usually presents there. That is whereas refer to the main page, no, or the index.html. So in this example, no, the pages directs a new user. So we use now the property search.co.uk, no. So the content of the initial page, usually index HTML, is displayed through the browser, no. So the page directs a new users to a registration form, and showing that, no, as shown in figure 7.2, which is the registry web page of the property system. It shows, no, created of a user form. It is a registration form, whereas it asks, no, it displays supply for user ID, username, user email, and the other details that is needed. Okay, we have two main ways the client side of an internet application sends information to the server side using the HTTP, which is the hypertext transfer protocol. Number one is the GET. This GET mainly used to extract information from the server. An example, to perform a search query. GET request sends information to the server as part of the requested URL. So GET is happening when, let's say, when you're opening a web browser and we try to input or initiate a query. And number two is the post. The post, when request sends information to the server in a separate message body, no? Not the URL. So the post, no, they are therefore more secure because the data being transmitted is not visible in the URL display. No, an advantage of this is it is a secured, no, when transmitting. Whereas on the GET, the GET, an advantage of GET is that the browser can cache the results of GET queries. So making a redisplay of the same results is faster. No? However, the disadvantage of GET is that some browsers may place a limit on the length of URL, thus restricting the amount of data that can be appended as part of the GET request. So these limits may be as of well, the 255 bytes of characters, the choice of which method to use is specific in the form tag in HTML. Okay, next. So here, the examples shown is an HTML script showing form name of registrations. The method is get. Typing the actions is the www.propertysearch.co.uk with the port 8080 and a servlet register. The servlet register user servlet is the script language which forms the web that returns the requested action. Ito yung pag in-access mo na itong property that core that okay. Okay, we will now go to internet systems technology. A large number of software technologies and languages exist to support the constructions of all elements of internet systems, which may be conveniently divided into client side. This is the executing under the control of the client browser, provided that the client is accessing web browsers, and server-side technology. So for the client side, we have the JavaScript. So the JavaScript is one form of the scripting language. This is Java-like scripting language, simplified programming language, which executes on the clients when the client browser views web pages containing embedded JavaScript. So okay, and also Flash. So as mentioned earlier, a Flash is an animation language for web pages. It is a medium and one of the control also, which allows movie-like visual effects to embed in pages. Before, Flash is very well known, but nowadays there's a lot of animation programs and language that can use to develop specifically the web page system. The JavaScript, there are numbers of similar languages as Microsoft's JScript and VBScript based on Visual Basic instead of Java. So aside from JavaScript, there is a well-known VBScript under Visual Basic. Of course, it is a Microsoft created programming script and languages. JavaScript can be used to check that forms are valid before the forms information is sent to the server via HTTP GET or POST message. It can also be used to animate web pages by responding to events such as the mouse cursor moving over a page element. So like for example, nowadays if you are moving your cursors over the web pages, so certain images provides animation. So ito yun. And also we have the server side. The server side on the server side, there are JSP, ASP, and PSP. These embedded Java statements in HTML are executed on the server when the pages receives a request from a client browser. Ito yung mga JSP, ASP. This is the how to say this. It is the programming language, specifically an open source platform independent server side. So ito yung pinaka foundation ng programming and language ng scripting na ginagamit whether a client server based or a web based system. For the JSP, the resulting of processing are returned as a web page. JSP are recommended for use when the web page to be generated are mainly fixed, like for example, XHTML or even HTML text with only a small amount of elements of dynamic content. So this content that varies depends on the input request data. No? Whereas servlets are suitable for situations where the response pages are mainly dynamic. For the ASP, the results of processing are presented by generating a web page and returning this to the client browser. No? So these are active server pages, server-side scripting for Windows servers using Visual Basic as the scripting. So ASP, JSP, PASP. I think we have also PHP with is not included here. Yeah. Okay. PHP. No. For PHP, as with ASP and JSP, the database query and update mechanisms are provided to the client via web page generated by the script. So all in all, lahat ng nasa likod nito is these server sides script language and programs. Now we go on to the online databases. From the client side, we have this create, delete, edit, check, list, add, and remove. For the create, of course, add a new instance of entry to the database. For an example, add new row, the table in the case of relational database. This is when we are appending a record. So in online database, this is called a create. So this is where add data records in the database. And the delete from the word itself, this is removing an existing instance of an entry of a row from a table. If you are familiar with SQL syntax, or instance, this is a delete command. And also the edit. The edit modify one or more attributes of an instances in a row in a database. This is the general example of this is when we have saved data in the systems, and provided that we have an authority as permissions, we can edit or modify data through web systems or client-based application system front end, accessing the back end is the database, regardless of if it is SQL, MySQL, or any database management system. And also, we will discuss the check. The check compare values entered in a form to database values. For example, when we are checking usernames, password at a login. So this is a one of the validations when we enter incorrect passwords, so this can be validated. Okay, the list. The list display all rows of the table instances of an entry which satisfy certain properties. The add an instance to a row set by creating a foreign key link from a table row at the row and to the table row to the other end of the association. So this is somehow in reference with our subject with Dean. Dean Alain Anuevo, referring to the ERD, the database system, and also the remove an instance from a role set. The essential form of many simple internet systems is an online database by which data stored on the server can be queried, augmented, or modified via web page interface. For example, like an online sports center would allow a user to register to make a bookings, or for example, a hotel and restaurant, when you are making an online booking to it. So there is a information being provided, a forms that you need to fill, suffice the information data required for the successful booking reservation. Next is the design of internet system. So the following steps are needed when a system is to be developed as an online application. Other operations such as resets, clear all the text fields to the empty strings, maybe also be presented for an entity representing an input form. So this transform the PIM, platform independent model of the system, into a PSM platform specific model. Oriented to online implementation by determining which entities and associations are to be persistent that is stored in database or some other permanent data storage. And if a relational database is to be used, transforming the classes and associate to produce a relational database schema. So this platform independent model into a PSM platform specific model. I'm not very visually familiar with PSM. Also, identify new entities, open the right directive from the persistent entities, which present data groups to be entered or presented on the web page. In this case, the input of data, the entities will have an operation corresponding to the submitted action on the web pages. So this operation should be stereotyped with one of the above standard actions: create, delete, list, remove, etc., if possible. Other operations such as reset, clear all text fields for the empty strings, may be also presented for an entity representing an input form. And last, the identified invariants of the system. Invariants of entries representing web forms express validity criteria for the data input into the form. Invariants of entities representing persistence data, corresponding in integrity constraints on the database, invariants linking view and repository data, which is express the functionality of the system. That is how it responds to submit actions under the client side action. Okay. We will now have an example of online property search system, which we used earlier in the previous page. So figure 7.3, the left side shows the PIM use case for customers. So this is PIM for the customer side. And then figure 7.4, the right side shows the PIM class diagram of this system. As an example of the development of a process for internet system shown in figure 7.3, The example shows the constructions of the system, which enables house buyers to register their requirements on a website. In this case, no, the propertysearch.co UK, no, and then view properties which match their requirements. Like say, for example, when they are prospecting a property which they wish to buy, no, or to acquire to home. And some examples constraints of this system, no, in LOCA are number one, no, customer one, no, a user's minimum price must be at least zero, no, and or less than zero, and a user minimum price is equal or lesser than the user's max price. No, this pertains to their limit max price. So let's say, for example, the system asks, no, okay, these are the properties I wish to query. So of course, the system will have will allow you, will enable you to search further and enter more criteria like minimum price and the maximum price. Depends on the user's budget. The relationship of matching between users and properties is many to many. No? So kung makikita niyo yan, this one is many to many, which is usually not recommended. So it needs to be refined to a new class and to new association if it is to be implemented in a relational database. No? Of course, implementing foreign keys, primary keys, associating it at least with one to many, like customers searching for a lot properties, no, acquiring properties under his name, so one to many presentation. Alternatively, it may be stereotyped as implicit to indicate that it will be calculated as required using SQL queries. So, for example, no, SQL queries, example na, let's say, ano ba yung mga properties na with this criteria, this square meters and pricing itself. Forms will need to enter user and property data and to modify this data. So figure 7.5. Figure 7.5 shows the resulting PSM class diagram. So ito na yun. So as you can see, no, ito na yung pinaka-extended and enhanced entity relational data presentations. No? We have already the registered user form, so login form, user property, updated user forms, remove users forms, then edit, add properties, and so ito yung mga syntax presentation, criteria validation presentation. An invariant linking the web pages and database is the post condition. So let's say, for example, now new ID is a constant representing the new ID of the user object. So nandito siya. So user ID. This expresses the submissions of the registered user form adds from the data, no, to the database as a new role in the user table. So even if user with the same name and email address exists, so allowing users to have multiple preference and profile. More usually, a warning should be issued if such update is attempted. So yeah. So since we have a relational database here, so it should be one username only. And the unique ID should be present there. So no same username, last name, and first name should exist. And it will be also a violation for the such criteria, like for example in the database system. That's why we are implementing primary keys. No? So these are primary keys are each and every one. So for an example, a complete implementations of one of the use case of this system, consider the registration function. Registration. Okay, there we have a user class now that is 0 or less than the user minimum price, and the user max price, which is should be lesser also. Property class that is 0 or less than the property price, and 0 or less than the property bedrooms. So there is also a user property association, registers user form, and add property form. Yeah. This represents representations of the criteria for this sample representation syntax. So in this case, no, this database could be very large. So the form has to prompt a user for the property features that consider essential if they are to be interested in a property. To cut down the search results to a manageable number, no? The price range. So kung ang system na to is, let's say, kung halimbawa, walang limitations, no? It could brought up into a large, so walang filter criteria and search criteria. So the database system may show you or provide you all of the list that they have. So that's why this criteria is being in place, so that it will limit, no, based on the search query provided by the users. Okay, another example, no, for the figure 7.6. So this is a sketch of the registration form. So on the right side, no, as you can see, no, there is an HTML script. No, this script produces the web page of figure 7.2 that was previously shown. So this one. So the script representation of that one is this. So as you can see, this is HTML script language. So the text, yeah, strong password. So yeah. So on the left side, so this is the sketch registration form. So this is now the viewable, the user-friendly form that is representations of the web page. So it will allow you, know, to input your name, email address, so type of properties you require, you're searching. So is it a detached house, semi-detached house, terrace house, flat, or any, no? So yeah, okay, dyan pinapakita rin yung maximum price, minimum price na base doon, no, sa criteria nyo. And it will allow you to submit. So once you have submitted, so that's the processing, the internal processing occurs, no. So the search query based on the criteria will be processed, no. It will then relate to the database, and the database will magbabase siya dun, will based on the criteria that is has been requested, and the database in return will provide the data and information based on sa criteria na binigay na or the client. Okay. Now we will go to server side design. So this is defining SQL statement. So this is in relations with Sir Aleno and Nuevo, no, which is database systems and designs that we are currently having. So this is the table 7.4, no, which shows the SQL implementations of a standard object and association operations on this class diagram. So as you can see, no, there is a correlations between table A and table B with the key identity, key and identity also for the table B. It shows also the class diagram operators, which is SQL, the settings, no value, update, sets, the criteria, no, where A key is equals to A key, abbreviation, get attributes, yeah. Selected statement also, no, for example, select asterisk from B, no, where B key is equals to AX, no. So AX is the table A. So ayan yung representations ng standard objects for defining SQL statement from the server side. So based on this table 7.4, no, we will have this, no, as an example, no, specifically for the property systems, no, for the search property.co.uk, no. On that example, we have the SQL operations given in table. So the matches association is a virtual implicit association. So the properties matching a given user's requirements. So ito yung mga requirements na yun, conditions na binigay. The predicate of the SQL statement is essentially the constraints for the figure 7.1. This shows the final architectures of the property search system comprising web page, servlets, web constructions, and database interfaces no components. By the way, classmates, no, if you have, I will go on to continue up until I end my discussion. If you have any questions, or just write down. So at the end of this discussion, we will. I will try to accommodate all of that, no, and try to address that. If in any case that I'm not also familiar with the questions, we appreciate, no, you guys to share information. No? I'm not familiar with the answers to your questions. So okay, we will now go on to design process for internet system. So the complete design process for internet system using all the techniques described in the previous sections consists of the following steps. No? So number one, defining PIM abstract data model of entities involved. Okay, also define PIM use case describing the operations required from the system. This is more on high level data modeling. And of course, number three is transform data model into PSM appropriate for data storage approach to be adopted. And number four, define entities representing web pages based on what operations are to be provided. So for number four, an input page should only require users to enter the minimal information necessary, especially to support operation, the operation it is involved in. Define page invariants and any client side scripts to check, enforce this. No? So yeah, so clear representations of a web page and limiting it, no, to what is needed. Okay, to continue, no, number 5, define the user interaction sequence of pages using the state charts, defining the visual design and information of the pages. They should usually be consistent in style across and application. So yeah, so these are the 12, no, like defining SQL queries, update for virtual associations. No, these are the
Or
12 that we will. Hello. So okay, including also, no, the defined database interface to support operations. So these are the 12 considerations that we must include, no, in designing process for the internet system. Okay, no. In summary, no, we have described one set of technologies for systematically constructing an online version of a system from a PIM and a process model up to identifying JSPs, HTML, server side, client side base, and also those scripts like Java, Flash, PHP, JSP, no, from the server side as well. No? This could be used instead of or together with this approach, no, to consist and complete the internet system, developing an internet web-based system. And guidelines for improving the usability and portability of the web interface has been also been given in this, no, specifically, no, that example, no, yung example na binigay ni Kevin Lado under the yeah, okay, that concludes my presentation discussion, no. For those questions, no, you may raise now, classmates, no, and I will try to explain and answer, no. And if in case I'm not familiar with your questions, maybe you could share also the knowledge that you have. Hello.
Okay, so again, okay, so again, as what our presenter mentioned, no, so it is important, no, because one of the key ingredients of to a successful product is the creation of effective, efficient, and visually pleasing display, no? So in order to produce such high quality display, whether they are graphical, no, like for example per website, or tangible, no, for remote controls, no. So an understanding of human visions is required also, no. So we have also actually there are some available tools, no, that we'll be able to use, no. And we could able also to use different applications, no. Let's say yung, I don't know if you're familiar with Gestalt, no, thinking, no, to design, provide us with insights and new ways of approaching problems and challenges, no. So that was also another considerations when it comes to our website, internet website design. Okay, so again, in designing a website, no, it is important for us to consider the basic communication model, no, of the internet, we need to consider, of course, when we say basic communication, the protocols, no? The role of the router, no, is also important. The application support service in the end mode, no? Let's say, for example, division of responsibility, routing and forwarding, no? The domain name system, the design applications, and so on and so forth. So a while ago, no, our presenter actually shared on how we'll be able to make some algorithms, no, with regards to the internet web design. Okay, so I think that's it for this topic. Thank you, sir. Thank you.